Nick Gallo, KC Thunder. Mark, you said your team was going to need to create its own energy tonight. In what facets of the game did you notice that happening to allow you guys to get this win?
Well, I thought a lot of the first half, we did a great job there. You can't underestimate the importance of a good start. And I thought we got off to a good start, built a nice lead. And then I thought, they really punched us in the third quarter. And with 5.5 to go, I think it was tied, or they were up by 2, or we were up by 2. And there was a group in there. It was Joe, Wiggins, Shea, Kaysen, K. Rich, and we were getting punked. And those guys really stood up. They strung together really important stops and kind of gave us a little more breathing room. We held them to 8 points, I think, in the last 5.5 minutes there. And that was a huge stretch of the game because we really had to stall their momentum. And I thought we did it with, standing up physically, a lot of pride with that group. And we did it with defense. It was impressive.
They tried to stall your offensive momentum by switching everything. You guys kind of countered that with pick and pops between J-Dub and Chet. Can you just tell me about how those kind of manifested and how you were able to not get bogged down against the switching?
Yeah, we were just trying to mix looks, against a team like that is pretty disciplined in their stuff. They're hard to crack for that reason. They're not going to mess up many coverages. Very, very disciplined team. And so, we try to mix the looks against teams like that, and I thought we did a good job of that. I thought we got some good cracks there.
Mark, in that fourth quarter, especially at the start, Dub and Chet really carried you offensively. Just what did you see from those two guys?
I just thought the execution for most of the night, across the board was really, really good. I thought we played a really clean offensive game, got good shots for the majority of the night, executed our stuff. We're able to counter what they were doing and go to a lot of different things very quickly. And I thought the guys were very adaptive and focused on the second night of a back-to-back. I thought that was across the board tonight.
Mark, it feels like through 3 quarters it was a lot of Shea, and then through their fourth, kind of like Brett mentioned, it was a lot of Dub, a lot of Chet. I'm curious through how many games, just what you thought of those two's connection and how they maybe fed off each other.
Chet and Dub. I give them credit because there was a stretch of games there where we were losing a lot of those minutes. Start the fourth quarter, start the second quarter. We had tried a lot of different things. They were the two common denominators in there. And they've done a great job of just kind of communicating through that, building a synergy together, and incorporating the other guys. It's not a two-man game, but I think they've really owned that in a way that is a good example of, like, things aren't always going to be perfect. There's going to be struggles throughout the course of the season, and we want to be solution-oriented, and I think they've done a great job of that and have built a nice chemistry.
Yeah, I know he's a sophomore, but it felt like he was putting a lot of those prime late-game positions last year. I'm just curious what you thought of Dub as maybe that kind of closer type and how he's maybe evolved in that role.
Yeah, we don't I don't like to call them closers. I thought we did a lot of different things. I thought one of the biggest plays was Dort got an advantage in a pick and pop. We threw it to him. They fully rotated off Chet. He made a great extra pass. Chet hit a 3 in the left corner. And so we try to, like I said, keep it pretty fresh, especially against a disciplined team like that. We try to give them a lot of different looks so that they can't get into a rhythm defensively. But it's nice to have guys that you can go to outside of just Shea all the time, because number one, it gasses them, and number two, you become a one-trick pony, and the late game plan comes down to just guarding one guy, and we don't want to be that type of team. We want to be a team that's dynamic and can beat you a lot of different ways, and we're developing that. It's not perfect, but certainly, we took a step forward. We played a really clean last 5 minutes tonight on offense.
You guys go small when teams go big. What goes into the decision to not try and get close to that size that other teams have on the floor?
It's not a rule. We'll look at everything. We went big with Jay Will and Chet in the second quarter tonight. So that's certainly on the table. We want to be a team that has a range of possibilities so that we can draw different tools in different situations, but. We're not afraid to go small. I think we've got really competitive guys. We got first of all, we get size at other positions. We're not small across the board. We're small at the 5 in those situations, but we've got tough guys. Competitive guys. The group I just mentioned in the third quarter that kind of stood up, and I thought they changed the game after we took that punch. And those guys are they're scrappy. They're just tough competitors. and it allows you to kind of play a smaller unit and trust that you're still going to be able to move the scoreboard in the right direction.
And then, how do you feel about the physicality for you guys tonight?
I thought, we played a really physical team. I thought that was a good lesson for us. I thought on a lot of plays they kind of took us out of our initial stuff because of how they picked the ball up and how, they touch you up every possession. They set a very physical tone in the game, and they made it a brawl. And that's what they do. That's why they're a really good defense. And I thought we had good patience and poise to get to secondary actions and to work possessions when we didn't get initial advantages. And then I thought, we got to a point in the game where we started to get some cracks in our initial stuff as well. And that's part of the physicality I was mentioning when we kind of stood up there midway through the third.
Mark, last year you mentioned that there's sort of a spectrum for how aggressive guys are. You have on one end Lou, who you have to kind of rein in a little bit more, and then Dub, who you kind of have to push to take a few more shots. It seems like those guys have settled in more into those roles this season. What sort of goes into that? Is that more on them, or is it like a coaching conversation with them?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to acknowledge how hard it is, because you're talking about two things that are like paradox. Like they pull a, what is it? What is it? Well, you're a journalist. Yeah. Paradoxical?
Yeah.
Okay. They pull against each other. It's confidence and functionality are not necessarily married together. And so, and usually guys have a nature, Lou has a very aggressive nature. That's why he's a very good player. And so finding that balance is a process. It's hard. It's probably the hardest thing, I think, for a player, no matter which direction they need to move. And we just kind of walk with them in that. It's not like a coach down to player thing. You can't really get anything done if the player isn't committed to it. Compliance only gets you so far, and we try to be in it with our players in all facets of their growth, not just their shot selection, their bodies, their minds, their the way that they approach the weight room, what weight they want to play at. We don't dictate that stuff. We work with them.
We talked pregame about this team not having really played many back-to-backs so far. I'm just curious, generating that type of fourth quarter, that type of game flow on the second night of a back-to-back, does that surprise you at all from the team?
No, I'm never surprised by anything competitive with these guys. They've really set a great tone of that. But I thought we really got into our depth in the first half. We were able to keep the minutes under control and still have control of the game. We played a lot of different guys, and we had a very balanced rotation minutes-wise in the first half, which allows you to kind of hit the gas in the second half with some of the higher minute guys without it turning into a 40-minute night for a bunch of guys. And so I thought they had gas in the tank for that reason, and it had gas in the tank. We did the same thing last night. We were able to keep minutes under control in that game as well. So I think that's a 1 through 15, endeavor.
Anybody else? Thank you, Coach.
Yep, thanks.